fast. But we'll see how that goes there between our two teams. Which map will we be playing on? That is the big question. 7-1 left at the end for a best of one series. Clubhouse. Oregon banned by Tempra, pushed into a map that isn't Coastline, as you were saying, Des. But do you believe this is the right map that, given the circumstances, they can go to?
I really wanted to see him go into Coastline because that's where they played in the last day of last season. Ended 6-6, and it was some explosive stuff coming out of the side of Tempra. I think coming to a map like this where coordination is paramount, maybe it's going to help Tempra a little bit. You're less relying on the individual flair of players, which they really seem to be lacking right now, and more put strength in being a team. And I think when things are looking bad, go back to basics, boys. Play as a team. Play for the trades if you have to. Don't go for these individual moments of brilliance and hope it does you well against Empire. Fair enough, I understand.
Look, it's not a bad map to take Empire to, I will say, because, you know, the one that I've got here was not a good matchup that Empire had taken anyway. But the last time the Tempra played this was actually in their French league against Maestra. And that's a team that a tier 1 team should be beating, not quite easily, but, you know, dominantly in some way, shape or form. And they tied. So don't know how well that bodes for them. How well do they take their National League? I don't know, Milosh, but...
What I will give is one quick throw in here as well. They played against Vitality on this last season. That is literally the game that I referenced about the inflexibility back at the very start when we introduced the roster. They could not deal with Monty. They could not deal with what Vitality throw at them. I'm hoping here they don't get bullied by Monty, by Emperor. It's not really their forte. But either way, that lack of flexibility, that's what I'm watching out for here on Club.
Yeah.
All right, let's see how this goes. Jess, Daz, I think the perfect map to watch for flexibility is this map nowadays. Clubhouse is definitely one of the main ones in our metagame. Let's see how it all goes through. Let's toss it over to our casters to start off the match. It's Fluke and Hap. Team Flap, all yours.
It's Flap here to take it up, and yes, it is going to be Clubhouse, and this is a really important matchup to come up because Tempra right now, as said before, is finding themselves drawn up against Chaos in that bottom relegation spot. So they really need to get some points here.
And look at that social vote as well. Obviously, this is, you know, whenever you see the social votes, you're like, okay, there's a lot of history, there's a lot of but Empire did take their game last week. They took it against G2 that did a really good performance in the recent major, and then from then on dropped off a little, but they always do at the beginning of a season. It seems to be habitual at this point. So, hey, who knows what Empire we see today?
Who knows indeed. Are they back? Are they back in form? Or was it just a fluke, as people said before you joined the lineup?
Wow. I'm sorry. It's one of the. I guess I have many regrets in life. One of them is how frequently my pseudonym comes up in casts across the board. But if there's a caster that's probably happy with the potential of an Empire being back, I'm sure Geo is loving it. A big proponent of the CIS region, and yeah, a lot of all caps.
Simp.
A lot of all. That's what Dev said. There's a lot of all caps tweets when they come out. But you gotta have passion. You know, it's a passionate region. Let's see if they can do some passionate play. Clubhouse, obviously, they talked about it a little bit on the desk. This is a map where, it was a draw in Tempra for the French League, but it was also the draw at the opener of this phase, and the only map that they've been able to take points from, I believe, in the second half.
Let me quickly check that for you, just to fact check. They played against Navi, indeed, on Clubhouse, which was a 6-6. Both teams won 2 attacking rounds and 4 defensive ones. So let's see if Tempra can improve on that. Let's see if they will be getting 4, maybe even more, as they are going up against Empire. Round number 1 is about to get underway. We first, of course, have to go through the Operation Pick selection phase, and the 6th pick reveal phase, then the prep phase, and then the action starts. It's quite a bit before we start.
Are you just breaking down
citing
just how the game works?
Yeah, just breaking down the script.
In case. All right, well, I hope everybody...
Just in case.
I
There
hope
might
everybody
be some new people, you know?
Everybody takes out your playbill. As you can see, we're going to start with... This is called a 6th pick. Now,
yeah, this is 6th
you count 1, 2, 3, 4,
Reveal's
5. Yeah, those are the 5 that are revealed. Now, the 6th pick, they don't know that. There you go.
No, they don't know that. That's totally secret.
That's like... that's page 2 in a 5,000-page booklet on how to play Conquer Siege.
Yes.
And Hap's going to take you through all of them. What I'm going to take you through, I guess, is an opening on Church as we dig ourselves in. And, well, it's a nice kind of flourish of operators here. Melusi is one that I was thinking about in the previous map with how she was adapted and consistently adapted during Consular. I love how she's kind of slowed a lot of these immediate entry teams. I know it's a tough bit of utility to get through, but you can physically see the repellent as teams approach, and it forces some of these changes and these kind of counter initiatives that, to be honest, if I'm an Empire fan, they're always historically quite good at that.
Something to keep in mind here is that indeed, like, it doesn't only slow you down, but it also gives that sound cue, and that is often why quick adaptations will have to be made, maybe attack from a different side, because everybody will know exactly where you're going to be coming from, and information is quite key in Siege. So that's like page number 3. Try and get as much information out as you possibly can, and try and act upon that.
Yeah, and
page 3 to 10.
By the end of it, you'll assemble the cabinet that almost looks like the success that Sweden just had in the previous map. Big angles held by Dan as they try and pinch out the Jaeger on the top floor. A very tall Rome is, well, under a lot of pressure right now. But look at this stack up here. The translation from body to body that leads all the way down like a snake towards the site itself. They have cover, they have protection, and most importantly, they have the possibility of trades. But, as I said before, Empire, they're fantastic at getting information and building this whole picture of how they want to try and paint the attack. It's learning, and then implementing. And right now, well, they've learnt where someone is, and Dan is unfortunately the victim of most of the bullets as the rotation goes unpunished back down towards site, but does isolate Voy and Chaoxis up the top.
So far, not too much pressure being put down onto the head of that snake, as you just mentioned, as they're allowed to freely rotate around and play on that top floor around the cache in CCTV room. And as long as they're there, they will be putting at least some kind of pressure onto Empire, who are looking to make as many vertical holes as they possibly can quite fast. But, like, at some point, those roamers will be coming to you. The question is, will they be worried about it?
Well, the pressure's coming onto Moto Hatch, and with a lot of time, it's going to be a C4 Hope and a, well, accidental amount of shrapnel that goes into your own face there, P4. I know what you were trying to do, and I know that it was the heat of the moment, and you couldn't quite slip it through the gap, but unfortunately, you still pressed go, and now you're in a little bit of an oh no.
So the option indeed to press that go button as the hatch now has been opened up, but P4 knows exactly where the Maverick will be playing due to the fact that this Valkyrie cam is still up. It hasn't been found, and Voy will just have to go on the hunt quickly before the drops are coming in because, well, to be fair, you kind of want to pick up 1 or 2 before that execute happens. Otherwise, you might find yourself stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Pensive seems to be the approach now, and well, that's not going to be much longer for Dan as he's dropped out by Voy. The opener finally comes through from one of those 2 bodies that was on the top floor forever. They seem to be getting an idea, but they've also seemed to ignore it, and they're putting the diffuser down, dropped in on Kitchen with the angles covered, and more bodies as Tempra starts to fall either side. Had to pop off the diffuser, but Scyther's there with the cover from above. They're trying to sneak in and get 1, and it's a 4 versus 1, but they're a little too late, and a little too wide. Empire, from out of nothing, they counted, they measured, they droned, and then, well, they took the round.
Well played on the information here, knew exactly that. No one was directly countering off that default drop, so you could have gone for the plant, and all you need to do then is get that cover in. Make sure you can enter the after plant phase, because as soon as you manage to drop and plant right underneath the kitchen hatch, and you still have 2 to 3 people upstairs, that round is guaranteed to be won. There is no way you should be losing out on those gunfights, as you do have that high ground. And that's exactly what happened. Empire able to pick up on the round. They will start things off strong right here on Clubhouse, which is, generally speaking, still a defense-sided map.
And that's it. And I think that's maybe one of the other things I'm going to cite here for Tempra is, okay, I was half right. The Clubhouse opener was some of their points. It wasn't all of their points, as I said at the beginning. It was half. The other half was Villa. Again, another great defensive map. A great place for you to be able to take rounds on your defensive half. So, if we're going to try and make a graph, if we're going to try and put this data into something actionable, as a lot of analysts like to do, you want to look at how that might impact Tempra's hopes. If they're struggling to be able to lock off defender rounds on a defender-sided map, which is generally where all of their success this split has come from, it makes you start to question how things are going to work on their attacks, because, well, this season they're a defender-favoured team in that their own performances belie that information. Here, it started off on a bad foot, and they've got to quickly try and find a way to get back into step.
Quickly made a graph as you just requested, and I see that we're already 16.6% on the negative here, as that is the amount of rounds in his first half that just slipped out underneath their fingers so far. And that means that they need to get the majority of these if they want to have a shot and actually surviving. As you see Scyther swinging that hammer like Thor, we see Shepard now cutting it open surgically, making sure that the wall will fall soon and allow the floodgates to be opened up for drones, grenades, and any other piece of utility that you might be thinking of.
As I said it before and always say it with Empire, they can be so brilliantly methodical. They know the process and defined it for a lot of teams, and unfortunately have fallen out of favour with it. And here is just an exemplary start. Again, no struggle, no drama. They needed to get a job done, and they did it very quickly. 2 minutes still on the board, and Chaoxis unfortunately can only watch from range. On the opposite side, there's a little bit of confrontation and a bit of a drone just in front of P4, but I think they're trying to hope that they weren't actually caught on it. But last time, hey, what happened? They just pushed site and put a plant down anyway. So you can't dig in and trust on the hope that because you're there, Empire are going to be there too, because otherwise they'll just ignore you, put the diffuser down and take it as free real estate.
As soon as pressure will be coming down on those, well, west side windows, or north side windows, I must say, pressure will be there straight away. Chaoxis was ready to reply, but it seems like they're falling off, and it seems like Empire is trying to go for a different avenue. Might be having to do with taking Garage control. As you see right here, Void is playing in a very crucial position. Garage is often the, well, one room you would like to have before you're going down and start executing onto the CCTV side, and it's exactly what Empire wants to achieve right here. They open up into the Garage, they're hoping to put some pressure, they need to take care of that Jaeger, and as the ADSs are getting flushed, that will give room to the potential grenades to come through, as Void is the one on the receiving end of things.
Well, there's the quick pressure over the top, and this time it goes with a double to Joystick and the third for Dan. A bit of revenge from last time round, and now it's almost a flawless, as always, puts Chaoxis down. Shinka, yet again, battling against the odds here. They have a little bit of hope, not much more health, and a lot of pressure coming in across those frag grenades that roll closer and closer. 20 seconds, and the diffuser is the one that's caught, but not for much longer. Team Empire. Wow, this machine, it's a rolling.
It is definitely rolling. This is a very well-oiled machine, Fluke. They are so clinical about what they're doing. They know exactly how to take things, and as they manage to take control of the Garage so quickly as well, because keep in mind, 1 minute to open up that plateau wall. And then some might say, okay, that's quite fast. And then they took about 30, 40 seconds to drone, get some information, open up on the back of Garage. They moved in, wiped the ADSs out, tossed in a grenade to displace him, and all you needed is someone at the bottom of the stairs to just take him down as he tries to move back into the side. And that's exactly what happened, followed up by 2 other kills in different positions, and suddenly you have yourself an unlosable round.
Similar attempt at a lineup here, and I'm wondering if it's going to be a similar hold from Tempra. Last time, as we saw, Empire kind of read what the game was and said, no, we're not playing it, or whatever that would be in Russian, and then went straight down to the side and put the diffuser down. And it worked brilliantly, because at that point onwards, they had the angle, had the kitchen hatch, had the control, and had every single Tempra member gunned within the following 20 seconds. Here, I'm hoping to see something a little bit more reserved from Tempra. Sure, I guess it's always the question of what do you guys believe went wrong in your hold there and what can you change to fix it? As I said, they've gone with a similar lineup before. They're probably still going to play the top floor game. Is it going to be 3 bodies up there that fell back to just 2? Is it going to be still so much heft at the top, or are they going to fall back slightly quicker? I guess questions that are kind of hoping Tempra answer, as I'm sure any Tempra fans out there are also kind of hoping.
If you can quickly put some focus down on the shield that is facing the main stairs that is down there in that hallway. We saw last Friday during Challenge League a quick way to deal with it, because often a player is playing, well, in that direct angle between the boxes, for example. You can take down the shield from above, and if you, well, chain that up well with someone moving down the main stairs, you're going to be able to land an instant kill, often on the smoke who is playing in that position. So just a quick little counter we saw coming out from Heretics against Gamma Gaming, I believe that was. Might see that coming into play here as well.
Baiting a C4, I believe, is the dance that might be happening here, and concerned about being blown off the roof, but there is no catch. P4 is currently in the battle for Strip Club as Joystick tries to apply the pressure, but you can see the 2 blue bodies just above as well. They're pinching, pushing, and kind of flattening this entire half of the map, and there goes P4, falling back to sight and keeping their head firmly placed, full of blood, and on their shoulders. The drones are still coming out towards the top floor as well. They're seeming to capitalize upon the potential of getting a kill, and it's fed to Dan as Voy just moves completely across the opening there, and you wonder if that was a little bit of a miscommunication or a little bit of a chance. Either way, it fell short, and for the second time, that is Empire with the opener.
Again, Empire able to start off well, just purely of the information they had from that drone. And look at Dan, he's just patiently waiting for someone to move up on that new blue storage room. Not sure if he's going to be able to catch someone though, as P4 able to take care of some of these drones whilst moving swiftly. Dan's still on the hold. He's trying to hold on to these angles, but he has to be careful for Kyaxis potentially running out from that same hole we saw created earlier on in CCTV.
Well, the pressure starts to come a little bit later than it was last time, but again, from the hands of Empire, they've got the opener on the top floor, and now they're able to start trying to apply the pressure down beneath. Kyaxis is still on a bit of a roam and a rampage, and, well, Joystick isn't too far away underneath, but look at all the guns that are currently pointed down. And look at that important one that was pointed down the... No, it was an opening from above. I thought it was the staircase, but instead, he's just found a little angle, found an opening, and potentially pulled his way back round to get what is an important kill before the hatch could be dropped. There's a bit more blood shed onto the site itself, and there's still Kyaxis trying to find more, but with 30 seconds at this point, you can assume Empire are pushing to the site, but it's not very successful. The shield you pointed out before has shown up. 4 bits for Tempra, and now Shinka's trying to rotate back round before the frag grenades put him out of, well, Joystick's misery.
Those will be taken down. That is going to be starting things off here for Empire in these last dying 15 seconds. They need to find 2 more, but Kyaxis is coming in from the flank. Is going to be giving his position away. Takes a little bit of damage. That now only 1 person will be on the site, and the Siter is starting to get that defuse going right now. The cover needs to be there, and it is completely there. It's only up to Kyaxis now. He will not be able to stop the defuse from happening, and that means 40 seconds are left on the clock. Remember, he needs 7 to get that defuse going. That gives him only 30 seconds left now to try and get the 2 kills and his start on that retake, on that counter defuse. He starts it off well, gets the first one, and now decides to go for the pickup. A smart choice just to bring him back into a 2-on-1 situation. Might put some pressure onto Always, especially if one of the 2 will be going for a flank, but there's not enough time for it, so body blocking is going to be the name of the game. As Durza starts that defuse, Always needs to go for the peak. Is he going to be able to get the kill? No, he doesn't seem like it. He will jump in, gets the double kill. Always is going to be able to clutch it nonetheless, and Empire will be able to pick up round number 3.
Fell from the heavens, if you're an Empire fan, and, well, unfortunately dropped a bombshell on you if you're a Tempra fan. A fall from the grace to get you a double kill and to get yourself a 3-0. Perfect attack opener there over 2 different sites, and it looks like we're about to see the 3rd for Flavor. Gym and Bedroom is where we'll head to next. At the beginning of this game, I talked a little bit about Melusi and how I like how it's kind of affected some teams, and you can almost physically see the repulsion because I followed it up with, I like seeing teams like Empire who can be, and often are, so methodical in pulling those apart. They run strats, run practices, and run ways to pull apart defenses in those situations, and we didn't see it for a while. But I think right now, we're kind of living up to those expectations I set, because we're seeing them read these defenses, and it was closer to the wire last time, but they seem in control for the first time in a while.
They definitely seem to be in control, and you know what else is in control? Look at Joystick. He is back from his holiday. He took a bit off, but he's definitely back now. 5-on-1 so far in these 3 rounds, almost rocking that KPR of 2. And that is definitely helping Empire out here. If you manage to get consistently like 1-2 kills each round, that is a good start, a good foundation to work off.
I mean, the confidence of taking points last week against G2, and it was pointed out as well that if they hadn't, they would have been in a similar situation to Tempra here. The stories of Empire battling around relegation, well, you wouldn't have believed it not too long ago, and yet, I guess currently the fact we're in disbelief that they've started to step it up is a bit of excitement here. It's a bit of, this is Empire. This is what they could do when they're on their top form, or at least even building towards it. To see them play with confidence and to see them play with it consistently, even if you did just slightly burn Scyther, well, it's great to see.
Again, we see Scyther swinging the hammer while Shepard wants to cut open the site surgically. This time they're trying to do it synchronized. Might make it a little bit less beautiful as it could be. Is Voy right here in oil pit? The question is, will he be spotted, as there is a player prone right above him? Always just holding. Surely a drone got there, and there we have the pre-fire comes in. Den picks up a beautiful entry. Yet again, Empire. I believe this is the third time right now that they are carrying it home. That is, again, a really good start. Only 3 drones have been taken out so far. That means you have 7 left for the remaining 2 minutes. And as the mirror windows are getting popped out, they know that they now need to put that pressure down from the logistics hatch.
That's 3 opening frags in the row for Empire, and all 3 have been against the Void. Yes, he got the first at the beginning, but you start to think whether Empire's complete, concise shutdown and control of what he's attempting on the roam so far might need a little bit of second thought, because you're handing blood over. And Dan, well, he's thirsty for more and takes a long drink of it inside kitchen before finding himself through to pop this mirror window, pop that hold from logistics, and start to put construction into the hands of Empire.
Oh, that's going to be a missed kill from Geoxys. He should have definitely gotten the one there. Shinka, however, will be able to, well, secure it, as Joystick will go down. Not have an impact on this round. That is your mirror gone as well. I'm not quite sure how that kill actually came through from the smoke. Must have been a jump out. But hey, they're starting to open up now anyway, as they're going over to Jacuzzi. Keox is going all the way over to CCTV, checking if there is any presence there. Now, I'm quite sure there should be a drone or 2 located around the area, so they should be aware that Mira is not on the site. And as soon as they realize that, it will be a 4-on-2 on site. It's a battle that you can easily win if you manage to just shut them down in perfect synchrony. That's, well, harmony. That's
you combine 2 words, but hey,
yes,
like
synchronized harmony.
Like your synchronized harmony of many words that you've decided to shorten for pace. Dan is looking to try and shorten anyone that's holding in around that corner, but no one's home. And with 15 seconds, you've got to start trying to make your home inside the site. You can see Shepard going for the rotate on the far side, and Durs is what's going to try and stop him, dropped behind the gym. And, well, with another body gone and Shepard holding clear, and just a second for Shinka, it's all falling in their favor. Dan has everything to do in the final throws. He's going to try and get the plant and the cover done. Just behind the wall, it's one more for Keoxys. Just had to swing and gets it. Tempra find their first on Jim and clawed themselves a point.
I have to say, these rounds are getting closer and closer. Fluke is Tempra now will be able to get the upper hand of this clutch. Too many people lost her in the gym bedroom by that one player. First a quick burst, shotgun shell to follow it up. Able to take down 2 players just like that. Drop the diffuser, stall out ever so slightly as that plant couldn't go down. And that's exactly how they managed to get this round in. Going back to CCTV cache though. A site that Empire has proven to, well, not have too many issues with, as their garage clear was so surgical. So I'm interested to see whether or not we will see a different setup, a different strategy coming out from Tempra to try and deal with that.
Well, the swap to the Valkyrie is, again, the bait on the Maestro that I believe they've run almost every single round as to play the guessing game of what is a Void, but really the game that Empire's playing is where is Void and Void is dead. And it seems to be, as I said before, the consistent opener over the past few rounds. Yes, Tempra are able to pull that one back. They found something in the chaos and Keoxys of how the rest of the round played out, especially with the heroics of the English shotgun making its way steadily through the site. But those kind of moments, those kind of clutches, you cannot try and bank your bets on all of them. So I guess we'll see if they can double down. As you said, a bit more familiarity, a little bit more control, and a little bit more of that, please, Tempra, if you want to see yourself try and get an even split before you go on your attacks.
All right, an even split is potentially possible, which is, of course, the meaning of possible. Camps are being tossed out. Information is being gathered. They need to get as much of it as they possibly can to set themselves up in the best way possible to try and get this round in, to try and stop the garage push that we saw coming out the last time around from Empire, who have been so surgical, so accurate, and so aggressive in their takes.
Here comes the slow and steady, and here comes the angles. I say slow and steady, as we said, it's very quick and maniacal and maniacal and really well balanced from Empire. Dan is kind of itching for aggression here, but look at the movements of the bandit underneath. They've pulled off the wall. They're not going to try and play behind the bomb chassis as they usually do, and are looking for something a little bit more aggro. Voy isn't too far away and is concerned about the catch on the drones on the side, but if there's a team that follows a step-by-step process, that is Empire. First step is wall, second step is, well, all of the control of Garage, as Voy is looking for the close fight on always isn't looking for the response.
Well, in the meantime, dropped himself down into that oil pit while Kioxis hopes to find his way back onto the actual side as Durza takes his spot. And that is basically how Tempra want to play right now, to keep on changing the Esports out as more and more people are being moved towards that side for a sturdier defense with the second. And that means 3 people right now are fortifying that site with no one actually being present in the garage, and that allows them to potentially move up. However, they have to be careful because there will be chems out there. There will be someone right next to that destructible wall to potentially just peek up and take you down as you are moving over the mezzanines, over the rafters. And that's not something that they can use on Empire's side right now.
Well, they're still getting responsively aggressive towards where Empire might be, and I guess Empire, I've talked about how they can be very structured and formulaic in how they apply and approach their information game, and here they're still collecting and collating and trying to find the breakthrough against what is a more revitalized Tempra from the heroics of the previous round and the point that it led to them. They're not entirely sure if they've got the hold onto Tempra at this point, and they're trying to bomb out the wrong side of where Chaoxis might be, but look at the positioning of Void too close to the main door. It looks like they want to shut it down, and the firefight starting on that open door. Scyther actually goes down in and amongst it, and Durza shuts down Dan. Now it's a 5 versus 3. The health of Tempra is fairly tested and tested more as Shepard blows one out. P4 does lock off always, and Joystick isn't far behind, with Shepard being the only full health player. Slow and steady up around the corner as we can see the rotation to try and repick up Scyther, but with 15 seconds, do you even really have time to get in and get control? They have it locked down. They have their crossfire. Tempra have the chaos that they so wanted to control this map with, and by the looks of it, they have their second round as well.
Indeed, managed to pick up their second one in a row, and this one was a lot more convincing than what we've had before. This time around, they chose to actually not go for a garage hold from the start of the round. They decided to rotate into it later. They also managed to rotate the complete soft walling, which makes it that they actually have to jump through that window, and you and I both know that is really hard to land your shot on your heart left or heart right if you jump in through a window like that. So at that moment in time, all he had to do is just be as far away as possible on a angle as perpendicular as possible to that window. And you managed to get the kill, and they managed to shut them down, because a lot of time was going into Empire's thought process here about what are we going to do. They're not giving us any opening here in Garage. They're not giving us any opening anywhere else. But we still need to create one here. And as soon as that's not possible, they started to freeze. And it's up to Tempra now to repeat this process on a different side, however, as they are going over to church yet again.
Give it a go. Obviously, what I like to see now from Tempra is confidence. They were confident to move around the map, and they were happy to try and look for any and all possibilities of putting pressure back against Empire. Those first 3 rounds, as I said, seemed pretty much in the palm of Empire. Everything was coordinated, it was closed down, and it was just perfection from the point of the aggressors. Because Tempra kind of, not intentionally obviously, but they tried to play their game against Empire. And that's hard. As I said, Empire do their research, do their prep, and live by it. They know your game. So you've got to adapt your game. You've got to try and throw them off. It's a tough thing for Tempra usually, as Des has said on the desk. They're quite a standard set their pace and live by it team too. But here, when you add that little bit of spice, that little bit of confidence, it can really start to push you.
Could really start to push indeed. Confidence is 90% of the game. You need to be trusting yourself to be landing your shots, to actually land them. Starts at the smallest levels, but it becomes oh so more important in the bigger ones. Because who says that Joystick might have not been performing due to just a bit of confidence, for example? Like, he got it back now, he's definitely showing up. But so is Tempra. Tempra is starting to fight back, and yes, they're not going to be able to land those full 4 rounds we might have wanted them to, but they might be getting close. If they manage to pick up one more, suddenly we find ourselves in an even split. Suddenly, it is a average EUL game where everything can happen in the second half, and as Cider starts things off, it is Void to fall first.
Well, now again, we're back into the old familiar of Void being the body off the board, and I guess let's see if they can try and capitalize on it, because previously it hasn't quite been the favor when they've lost him early on, but hey, they, to be fair, lost him in their first round win. They lost him quite early inside gym, and they were still able to pull it back into something ferocious. But if we're talking ferocious and we're talking the re-emergence of confidence and claws, look at the pace of Empire as they're smashing up all of these floors. They know this is a site they've 100%ed, and they want to make sure that they have that statistic carry over onto their defensive half, wasting no time and no fraction of that hammer as they try and bury it into the ground and into the players beneath.
C4 of Durza was not effective, exploded with no Joy grenade being tossed in now as he still does find Joy with the UMP. He's going to be able to pick up one, but he's getting that spotted out. The players of Empire are going to be trying to hunt him down with all the verticality that they have created, but it's a bit of a risk as well to go for it. It's a bit just to pick up the double kill as well. Somehow, onto 2 right now. Empire need to find this one man that is dug in so deeply into Armory that he is just such a big problem here. Gets a little bit of a tag, but manages to survive. And in these last 30 seconds, he will be in a key position as it is a 3-on-3 situation now.
Well, 3-on-3, but with 20 seconds and one more body gone, Durza is able to live huge right now. And if we want a resurgence, it's not quite yet. Chaoxis locks off Joystick, and Tempra lock off an even half, which at the halfway point of it looked far from even.
After the first 3 rounds of Empire, it looked like it might have been a walk in the park, but Tempra is bringing it back. They're right now up on that even split. They're going over to the attack right now. Last time around, they managed to pick up only 2 rounds up against Na'Vi. Right now, they're fighting against Empire. A different beast, a very synchronized beast so far. Let's see if they can pick up more than 2. If they can pick up 3 to go for the draw at least, or maybe even 4 for the win.
Well, we've got Empire heading to their defense. They're going to try and lock themselves in and lock themselves down with the same solidity that they locked against the early halves of this. They're still doing a lot right. They're still having these moments where we start to see sparks of Empire. But unfortunately then we're also having these rounds where they start to slip a little bit out of their hands and a little bit out of their favor. It's more unfortunately akin to some of the more recent play we've seen from them when they're not entirely solid, not entirely locked, as they usually and historically were. Either way, I guess they were proving everybody wrong in those early rounds and proved people wrong in last Playday, so let's prove it now.
Let's prove it now. Let's show what Tempra can do. Whilst Empire is going to be trying to put up their best defense, as they had a surprising result up against G2. The statistics did not favor them. Of course, with G2 having the overall head-to-head, I believe only 1 series before that was won by Empire, and they managed to turn that into 2 by taking this best of 1 as well. And that gives them some hope, that gives them some confidence. And Tempra seemed really weak at the start of this game, but looking to get back into it. They might already be back into it, but they definitely need to get their attacking rounds just chained together right now. Just get 3 at least, get that 1 point. Keep Empire within striking distance, or maybe even go for 4. Take the full win. Put them underneath you in that matter.
Right, you have the supportive words of hat beneath your wings, but it's going to take more than that, especially when you're trying to fly high over Empire. Again, it's a team that, if we're going to talk about confidence and how it's weighed into some teams and how it's weighed into the past couple of rounds, well, Empire started confident. They come off the back of pulling points, and they have the potential, if they take these, to really separate themselves on the board and pull the, I guess, to a point where everyone's expected to see their name a little bit earlier on. Tempra, they're in the same boat though. Nobody wants to be trying to dance and sail around those relegation periods, especially with the recent success that Chaos has had, and obviously Secret too, who have just started to pull away from this lower pack. Even though they weren't quite always in that battle before, they're definitely not in it now. And it's down to these 2 teams trying to scrap and scrabble and make sure they claw themselves a little bit more attentively. Minute 20, still every player on the board. We've seen late pushes before, but This seems to be a bit of an almost catch there on Chaoxis. Sedge looks like they want to try and step in and take the fight. They're trying to burn all the ADSs before they go for the close push there. They know exactly where they are, but unfortunately they also know where they are, and now it's very little health on the hands of a Hibana, a role that is still so vital in this push.
Will still be vital indeed. Have to say, both the C4s that Empire had have been used to no effect. Before then, will be able to pick up the kill onto Dan as he goes quite low. Tempra is not having a lot of HP on two of the members, but they do definitely have that man advantage with just 50 seconds to go. Breaches are popping off as well as, well, you see the X-Carrels being deployed on the construction wall towards the actual site, and at that moment in time, we have a very unfortunate series of events right here, as with 41 seconds left on the clock, I don't see anything anymore.
No, neither do I. I very quickly... At first, I thought it was my end. But then I'm glad that... Well, I guess I'm glad it wasn't just me. In the sad way that I don't have to try and fix my stuff. We'll be back very shortly. It seems like the game has crashed on our end. Usually at this point, the round plays out for the players and then we jump back in just a second. So we'll be back in just a second. And I guess that gives us just a second to talk about how we think it is going for both teams. Who do you believe is cutting into this with a little bit more?
I want to say Empire at the start of this game was looking phenomenal, right? They managed to pick up 3 rounds in a row without real pressure really being put up against them. Then they lost the afterplant situation, which wasn't really an afterplant situation because the kid came in, you know, at the second after the diffuser got down, but it was still a 1vx situation which went the wrong way. And after that, Tempra managed to completely swing it into their favor. 3-3, also able to pick up the entry frag in just the round you saw before, making sure that both the C4s was baited out, not going to be doing any damage from that point onwards as well. So all they really had was some smoke canisters to try and deny. So Tempra is looking to be growing into this game, whilst Empire is, you know, giving them some slack.
I think that's always the breakdown here as well, is when you're looking at how teams can grow into this situation, you've also got to take into consideration the fight that they have. This breather, this moment, if I'm looking at who it might be a bit more beneficial for, is probably Empire. Tempra got the opener on that round, they started to apply pressure, and I guess the worry is if more and more momentum slips into the hands of the French team, which is a great team when they have this behind them, well, they might start to run away with a couple of these rounds. And you run away with those, you get that distance to a team that sometimes takes a while to warm up, like Empire sometimes do. It can start to unfortunately fall against them. So in a way, Empire get a bit of a breather right now to reassert themselves. Go, we opened this so strong, how do we find our way back to that? Let's take a breath, take a moment, and start taking some Tempra names.
I just got confirmation from our admin Lesto, Fluke.
Yeah.
That Tempra won the round. They are now 4-3 up, so they've taken the lead, and we're getting back into the lobby as soon as possible to just, you know, continue what we started. Make sure we'll finish soon as well, and see who will be taking that W, or if we're going for another classic European 6-6.
El Clasico, that the scene loves so much. Yeah, 4-3 is the split now, and that's 4 rounds in a row for Tempra. As I said before, this is why I think the break might be a little bit good for Empire. It cuts that as a bit. Again, a lot of these French sides, like Tempra, are very heavily momentum-based. There are obviously sides from every region like that, but it's a general gist of the feel of their play. The momentum they like to move behind. Empire, they're not so much devoted and dedicated. I know there's always some memes about their expressions, from doing the biggest clutch on the biggest stage to having a big mess up. It's exactly the same. They're used to high pressure. But you've also got to be used to taking a moment, talking amongst yourself, getting a team back on track and getting yourself back into this game. And I think having that conversation in the halftime orange slices might help right now.
Orange slices?
Yeah, maybe that's a very UK thing. I guess you don't...
It might be.
I mean, football's a European thing. Do you ever play football much, Hep?
I did play it for like 6-7 years. I was a goalie. Okay. But I've never heard of orange slices there either.
At halftime. When there's a break, you have...
No, we got tea during halftime.
Tea? In football?
Yeah, we got tea. Yeah?
Even I'm British, and that is confusing to me. Talking to people in halftime, shout out to Medics as well. Medics is our observer. Easy's gone. He's been temporarily put back into his box, and Medics has been pulled out of the box. Medics is observing. Thank you very much, Eyes in the Sky, for our wonderful Croat. Is it Croatian? Croat?
I don't know if it's Croat, but he is Croatian.
Croatian.
I think it's just Croatian. All right. Well, unfortunate. He did 300 rounds the first week. Easy managed to pick up 296. So Medics is definitely leading so far.
Are we racing them?
We're gonna keep a count. But we cannot count week 5 because otherwise Medics has an extra week.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't want to break the rules of counting the stupid stuff that goes on. But if you want to get involved in any of this stuff, the socials and polls and all of this stuff, maybe I'll try and convince socials to have a poll as to Easy and Medics. But I feel like I know where that'll go because the community loves Medics almost as much as
He's saying the community... Okay, I was going to say...
No, I was going to say almost as much as... and Medics has just said he hates Easy. As much as they love Cat Jam, but Medics isn't quite at Cat Jam level yet, I think. I think there needs to be a Medics emote in the Twitch chat, but...
I wish we could do that.
Yeah, Twitch.
Oh, that'd be so great. Twitch, please. Make a Medics emote.
Hit us with a Medics emote. And also thank you for hitting us with the game back. We'll let Medics get back to whatever he's talking about so he stops talking into my ear. Church and Arsenal with what was a misplay on the side of CC and kind of a missed opportunity puts Empire 1 round behind for the first time today. And the first time since last week, I believe. This time last week.
What? Say again?
Were they always ahead in the G2 match? Off the top of your head?
I mean, if you win 7-2, I guess.
Well, they might have got 2.
No. Actually, the first round was won by G2. And then afterwards, Empire was completely in front the entire time.
Okay, so that was the last time that they were behind.
Yeah.
Almost since a week today, but not quite. My stat is ruined. Thank you, Statman. Holding down in the basement, if we're going to look if we're going to look at stats, this was almost an 100% success story if it wasn't for the heroics of late round Tempra to pull it back just at the turn of the half. Can Empire rebuild and restructure their empire and reconquer the French that are so wild right now and running quite amok across the clubhouse over the past couple of rounds?
Just checking the setup. Empire still busy reinforcing 15 seconds into the action phase. Of course, in the basement, not really that dangerous to do so. As Durza, the spearhead of the attack, is looking to get a quick entry down. The drone shortly will be finding out there is going to be a player on that staircase who is now falling back. It's Scyther, or Scooter, who's not having any of that. Doesn't want to be under early pressure. Doesn't want to take an early gunfight and potentially lose it. So instead, chooses to send in a second drone, or let Tempra send in a second drone to confirm he's indeed gone. He will waste some extra time with that. Look at all the barricades that they placed up as well. Just an extra 4 or 5 seconds per room that they want to enter will be taken away like that. And it's the small things that matter at the end of the round. Maybe like Tempra will be coming in, I wish we had 3 more seconds, for example. That could have been that one barricade that they had to open.
Well, Scythe is trying to apply some counter pressure and concerned about the drone that's dug into the corner as they start to look towards the aggression that may come from Tempra. Now, as I said before, if the compliments I pay to Tempra are ones where they're leading in with a lot of pace and a lot of passion, this is a tough situation to do it on. You're stacked up against Malusis, you're stacked up against quite a coordinated and hefty hold down here on the basement, and then you're also stacked up against the guns of Empire. In fact, all 5 bodies, I believe, are currently playing on the ground floor and inside the site itself. No height, no true extension on this. They want to dig in and they want to play this aggressively as a flat territory fight, and, well, that makes sense. It's the old traditional way of doing this, and it's something that might play very well into Empire's hold if they can just hold it.
Keyword there being hold, indeed. As they are on the defense, they need to continue their current trajectory. As grenades are being tossed in, it's going to be Scooter to be dislocated from his current position. As he falls back in, he will be able to pick up a beautiful frag into Durza. Goes to the second, but will be failing to hit that one. As Void, with Gumine in feet, will be able to land that headshot. A second grenade of Shinka, however, will be able to pick up Joystick, and that leaves us with 30 seconds and quite some control here for Tempra as they move through, especially now they take down Den in the Becca Armory.
Well, that's a big pick and a big problem as P4 starts to put the diffuser down and put what could potentially be a big round into their hand. It's planted just on the other side of a box, but it doesn't even matter because you're not going to see it. Tempera, one more round, 5 in a row. And it seems like over the rehost and over that situation, they have not missed a step.
Definitely didn't matter for them. They managed to just quickly take a deep breath, maybe fill up your water bottle again, get ready for the next rounds because they're not stopping any of that momentum just yet. And as they are in the 3-5 spot right now, they are in the lead with 2 rounds. They are looking to make this to 6. They're looking to make it a 3-round lead and potentially even close it off right afterwards and take that W.
Wow, it's a different story to, I guess, one we thought we'd be telling quite early on. I'm sure the cheers have kind of turned to a little bit of having their fingers between their eyes as this has got a little bit worse and worse every single round from the hands of Empire. But at the same time, this is what we talk about when we see this momentum build and this confidence. And Empire came in with a lot, and as soon as it started to be shaken, well, unfortunately, it started to fall. And you go from heroic clutches falling from the sky to no rounds after that. It beats a bit of a sad story. They still have potential, and you still have situations. Obviously, if you're going to cite the fact that things started well and went wrong, you have to look at Tempra's story. They lost the first 3 rounds of this, and this site was where the story started to change. Can Empire try and copy a little bit from the book and this tale of Tempra and rewrite how this game is going? Because at this rate, it's otherwise going to go out of their hands very quickly.
It's definitely looking like it will get out of their hands quickly, and this round will be a deciding factor. This is the key turning point. If it is Empire that manages to win this one, they might be able to get back into it. They might be able to launch themselves to 5 as well. Fight for that victory in the last 2-round sprints. But if they lose this one, Tempra is going to be the one with a 3-round lead, with a 3-round buffer, with less pressure than Empire themselves will have. Considering the last time these 2 teams played, it was a 6-6. They drew up. And that means whoever wins this one today will be winning the head-to-head automatically in an eventual tiebreaker. If it comes that far for a relegation spot, it could be decided by this one map. This one match. So it's more on the line than just those 3 points.
Well, they're trying to apply the pressure down onto Dan, who's looking to get aggro back up against them. Kind of wants the threat from potential above, but if there's a little bit of a misplay and a little bit of a stretch too far, this could lead to a quick and early demise. They may have burnt an ADS, hard to tell, but they're not going to try and burn any more. They're satisfied with what they've done, and they need to start working away on Jacuzzi. P4 digs through the wall and looks towards the mirror ever more. It's Shepard dug in on the bathroom. As we can see, Tempra have actually pulled away from logistics as it leaves Dan dancing and looking for anybody above.
Wants to find someone desperately, as they are hoping to bring the opening kills back in their favor. And this might be always that does that. The question is there a drone? Oh, well, he is on his drone, but he will definitely be taken down as he goes on it. Trying to get the information done. Always now digs himself a little bit deeper into that kitchen. Chooses to go for a different corner to sit in. Of course, he doesn't have the defuser, but he might be pushed by any of the remaining Tempra players who want to avenge the death of Chaoxis. With 50 seconds left, Empire might be able to turn this one around.
Wow, as I said, it could be a story that starts being rewritten on the very site where we've had the 2 changes of pace, and Dan is going to try and double down on that, but P4's just dug his way into the site, loses in the exchange. Voy and Shinka are able to win theirs on the hindsight, though, and with Jim turning under intense pressure, they have to try and rotate up and offer some support because Voy has come around the back stairs, come around the hotly hit logistics, and Shinka, well, he's planting without any real response. Look at the body underneath, though. The shotgun comes out a little bit in time as they can't quite stick the diffuser in time. They might have been able to play before. They definitely can't now as Shinka swings on the door and drops one more. The pings are constant. They're hot, and it's a 1 versus 1 always versus the diffuser carrier, but he's not even going to let him start to put it down.
Wasn't planning on letting him put it down there. As always, puts down one and then puts down the second one instead. That is Empire now potentially coming in clutch on a crucial turning point. 4-5, you've stopped the momentum of Tempra. You stopped the 5-round streak. You're now going back to CC. You managed to win that 1 round in the bedroom. You now need to continue this over the other sides. You need to continue this to secure yourselves at least 1 point to stay in front of them, or 3 to try and walk away on the leaderboards. But man, Tempra, they managed to get so close yet again. It started off so well for Empire, They managed to bring it back to a 2-3 situation, and a 2-2 situation, even all the way into the 1v2 situation. I'm just really uncertain as of why they were not aware of the last player being downstairs to get the shotgun shells that were coming up from underneath.
It was fantastically paid there by Always, obviously, to pull it round, get underneath, stop the diffuser going down that first time in that first exchange, knowing they couldn't truly rotate and get aggressive, and then being able to win it in the double afterwards. And if it's anything to go by, it's strange that gym and bedroom, the site that is so often a team... Don't worry, we'll let this keep going. Okay, there we go. A site that is so often a team's third choice, a site that is so often the weakest in a team's arsenal, has over the past game, and over this game entirely, been the turning point, or the potential turning point, for teams that are otherwise having it all slip away from them.
So we're going to make sure it doesn't slip away from them now, as they are still in the lead. May it be with one round. They are definitely within striking range of picking up points here today. Some very important points. And again, some very important tiebreakers potentially. Shepard still opening up from below with the Deagle. Will be there to offer some form of support. If, for example, the Maverick will start opening up, you're going to be able to shoot up the head of Shinka. If he doesn't find out quick enough, here you have it. The angle's being opened up. Shepard is just a bit afraid of potentially checking it, as they have drones down there. So they're aware that it's being contested. They are aware it's being challenged. And the Shinka will decide to not continue his journey. Wait for some support to go from the bottom floor. And take down Shepard, who is trying to harass him whilst opening up that wall.
Durza, in the meantime, applying quick pressure onto logistics, with Chaoxis offering some drone support. This is how they started their push last time. They dipped in to construction, took a hold of logistics, took a firefight on the door that went their way, and then moved from that point onwards. But with Cypher on a very deep roam and a very deep situation, he's looking to try and have a go at the back of Durza, the back of this push, and pull something out of it before it gets momentum. It seems they're aware. But it seems Empire are aware too, and what we've got here is a developed stalemate. Now, time is always a precious resource in this game, and the burning of it is only going to work in Empire's favor.
Empire definitely looking to make the best out of it. Use this stalemate to their fullest potential. And Shepard still down here, putting up some pressure. Then Scooter comes in. We'll be able to sweep up P4. That's just Sledge gone suddenly. Not sure if he had any grenades in pocket, but it will definitely make the execute a lot harder. You're not going to be able to dig into these fortified positions anymore, and that means Durza will have to do it all with just his R4C to try and pick up these heads, as Den is ready for a peek. So there's the player right there on red. They have a Valkyrie cam on him. They know exactly what he's going to be planning as the flashbangs are being tossed in. Surely Empire have this under control. They know exactly where these players are coming from. They know exactly where the push will be coming from. There should be no way that they lose this.
Well, here comes the push and the pressure, and he's just going to walk all the way over on Malusi to try and get this kill on the rotation. Does! But only just, and there's 2 and 3 that fall in the favor of Tempra, but there's a battle back, and now it's a 1 versus 3. Shepard is underneath with a C4 in hand, so could stop the first plant, and with only 15 seconds, that could be enough if he plays this properly. The pings are coming, looks for the angle, looks for the hold, tries to get the kill. There's the C4, but too little! Too late, and it is nothing more than a beautiful firework that unfortunately shows the slightly exploded hopes of Empire on this round. 30 seconds, and you don't just have to retake the site. It's a 1 versus 3 across 2 stories. It is in no way easy, but, well, this is someone who's been able to pull off hard before.
Looks like a mission impossible here. There's only 10 seconds left for him to actually go onto that defuse, and he will be taken down by Durz exactly at that point. And that means that not just the hopes of winning that round dwindled, it's the hopes of winning this full matchup that just went up in smoke. As Tempra are the only team left right now who can potentially take fully 3 points here today. Empire, they need to fight for a draw. That's all they can do. They need to fight for that 1 point, because that keeps them ahead of their opponent's Tempra. Just not only for the head-to-head, which is then equalized, but just in the average standings.
Wow. 2 rounds, 2 potentials for Tempra to get 3 precious points and pull themselves slightly further up the board. Chaos are probably watching this in a little bit of disappointment as they see themselves and their successes changing, and well, they unfortunately see Tempra being able to pull stuff off together, and they know that the fight is far from over. The top of the board and the bottom is seemingly having very big shuffles over the past couple of play days in the past week and a half, but that's the game, that's the joy, that's the system, and now it's the tough fight that Empire have to try and do, because if they can't pull this point, if they find themselves yet again neck and neck with one of these bottom tier teams and kind of the bottom of the board, well, it doesn't bode well for the head-to-head as you listed before.
Doesn't bode well indeed, because then Tempra would be definitely above them. And of course, it's not that important now yet. It will be more important as we head into week number 5 or even week number 4. We're still in week number 3 right now. And they still will not be too worried about it, but it might come back in the end to haunt them. So Empire, they need to fight back. This is direct competition for survival in European League. To survive and go to European League 2021.
They're looking to try and apply anything onto the body on Blue, but he's not currently home, and he's waiting. And Scooter, as I mentioned before, is just going to pull away, head back to the basement, and not take the... Oh, wait, no, they're still there. And they're going to shoot your head off as you try and dangle upside down on the window, and that is a very big killed man. Caught drifting backwards, decided to pop his gun over his shoulder and get one for the trouble. 2, and that pulls out that sledge on this take, this hold, and this soft destruction is a lot more of a costly affair.
There we have it. Dirt tunnel opened up. The smoke is playing there. There should be enough stall available to hold off any Tempra member going through there for at least 30 seconds. Maybe even more if you manage to space them out quite well, push them a bit aggressively so they have to fall back. With about 100 seconds left, Tempra is hoping to put up the pressure a bit. Hoping to turn up the gas pedal. As they need to find themselves a kill. They need to find themselves an equalizer first before they can start thinking about pushing it to an advantage for them. And thus they will be playing these hatches, they'll be manipulating them, they will hope to drop down the oil pit soon as well, just to get blue control. Because you need to fight this side horizontally, and that's exactly what they try to do with an Infiltrate to come through between Den and Chaosis.
Well, Hibana off the board means whatever they got to do, they got to make sure they do it well now, and it seems like it's going to be blue pressure from first, but Empire have completely read that. They didn't quite get the full of church wall open enough to put a little bit of pressure on an angle, but enough is not enough. And a map like this where you need all of your hard destruction to pop on all of the canisters, it potentially can. They've lost 2 big bits of utility in this push, and they're going to instead just have to try and do it with the guns in their hands. Looking at the close corners fight and looking at the close quarters there on Church, with the dead body right in front of you of Malusi, well, let's hope it doesn't put you off as you try and lock down this game, or in the case of Empire, lock off a round that is really starting to swing in their favor. Close quarters combat starts to fall, and the first body goes into the favor of Tempra, putting us into 3 versus 3. Another canister pops on the opposite side, so they can't quite find their way, or the sightlines through onto the site itself. But Durza, he's going to decide that's maybe enough, but, well, Shepard's going to say it's not enough and try and blow it up. There is a split push, and there is 2 important picks there. Great response from Shepard with Void, with everything left to do. Unfortunately, can't quite do it. An Empire 1 round away from 1 point.
Indeed, 1 round away here from 1 point, Fluke, as the Alder, the LMG prone, just taking the shots there through that wall, hoping to get that wall bang in. Exactly that happened. And we're now at match point. We're at round number 12, the maximum amount of rounds you can get in EUL, and the site of choice of Empire will be to go to Gym Bedroom. This is where they need to complete the cycle rather. This is where they need to stop Tempra from getting those 3 points and, well, basically tying up on the overall standings with them.
Tempra, you're so close to locking this out. And for a site that has had a weird role in this game as the one where we've been able to pull rounds back and pull games back into your favor, we're seeing it for the 3rd time. This could be the make or break, because as weird as it is, in this situation, statistically, you would usually favor the attackers, but this is the site, this is the one that's broken the funk, broken the dominance a team has had over this game in both halves, both splits, and both times it's gone to the defenders. This is up to Tempra now to apply some of the pressure they've been able to put to the cook and the test of the other sites, and try and get themselves that 3 points, and it's also Empire. You've got to play this game now. You know how much Tempra have stepped up, but you know what you're capable of.
They definitely know what they're capable of. They've done it before. They managed to get those 3 rounds earlier, all in a row. And it looked unbeatable at that moment in time, and then Tempra came alive. It's just a matter of, can Empire turn up their playstyle, turn up their skill level, or whatever you want to call it, just ever so slightly, play a bit more focused, and get this one round in. Because Tempra, they are on the attack. Yes, it's less favored, but time and time again, we've seen the attack leading the charge here, and the defense trying to crawl back and retake their control of what should be rightfully theirs. As right now, the walls are going to be opened up, the pressure will be seeping in ever so slightly. And Shinka just creating a small little hole to look through, potentially tossing a grenade later as well. As they know there is a mirror window in play, they need to take care of it at some point as well. So many utility pieces they have to deal with.
Well, no time wasted on logistics, but a C4 is. We haven't really seen any successful C4s from the hands of Empire, especially as they're opting to bring at least 3 around. And they were so cautious of them on their previous approach when they were on their attacks. They haven't seemed to be able to master what is a pretty masterful bit of utility, and well, it hasn't cost them yet, but we'll see if it can clutch them, this situation. The drone starts to work out. You generally know where they're holding, and it's Dan being hyper aggro underneath logistics hatch yet again. They still have their C4, so the one used and thrown wasn't theirs. It was always playing on a little bit of a sight and rotation. But with that mirror hold inside the bathroom, and with how they've got to close down on it, Shepard's survival is kind of hinged on those playing behind. Oh, there is a C4 used properly.
It's been a while. But we've seen it. It blew up right into the face of Shinka as the shrapnel seeped through the little cracks. He just burned into the reinforced wall himself. And with that, the diffuser will be dropped. Some time will be wasted as someone has to go over and try and take control. Durza now will be sneaking himself into that dirt tunnel, hoping to go for a bit of a push from the back, up those main stairs potentially, and surprise on either Scyther or Joystick, whoever he will find first. Because he needs to make an impact now. They need to bring it back for Tempra's sake. And Kioxis does just that. Always taken down. 35 seconds. The execute will be coming down right now. Oh!
Scooter went huge, but then instantly got shut down by Durza on the rotation. A massive sneaky snake run has been able to actually find a little bit of a bite against their opponents, and he's just going to keep moving through his teammates' flashes too, because they know how much they still have to do. A 3 versus 2, and the worry of this mirror window is a little bit too real, as they want to dig in just on the close corners of the logistic rotation and see if they can catch one more before they apply the pressure. There is a body inside, and Voy is able to lock it down. This is where they want to try and stick that diffuser. As you see, they've traded it into the possibility of a gunfight, but they just left it behind and went for it. And Empire shut it down, shut off the last round, and at least shot a point onto that board.
Managed to get the draw in after these incredible first 3 rounds they played. After that, Tempra seemed in control of the match up until we saw that 6-3 coming on the board, or the 5-6-4 it was.
It was, yeah.
After that, Empire able to bring it back, handling well with the pressure, able to get that 1 point in, and you're going to see it's going to be a more important one than you might have expected at first sight.
That's it. We're playing with the top of the board. We're seeing teams dip out the top 4, but we're also seeing this bottom 4 change for the first time in a long time. And, well, if we're going to try and put a distance between any of these teams, unfortunately it wasn't now. That's not for us to look at. That's for the analysts. Let's have a look over at Milos on the desk and see what he has to say.
Thank you so.
What was that?
Look,